The killer is in the room. Detective Claire Donovan was once the police department's rising star and a trusted friend of Ethan Shaw, who she saw as a mentor. But when a string of murders connected to the AI profiling system starts to happen, Claire's world falls apart. In a world where the system can tell who will commit crimes, can anyone be trusted? Detective Claire Donovan used to be the very definition of hard work and drive. Claire quickly became one of the most trusted officers in a high-tech city where the Sentinel AI system predicted crime and brought criminals to justice. She believed in the system's promise to protect and predict, to stop crime before it happened, and to save lives. The department thought she was a rising star because she was smart, driven, and very dedicated to doing the right thing. Claire was a woman of principle. She believed in the justice system and had a laser-like focus. No crime was too big or too small for her. Even though she looked tough on the outside, she trusted the people around her, especially her mentor, Detective Ethan Shaw. People respected Shaw in every room he walked into. He was the brains behind Sentinel, the AI system that the department used to predict crimes and catch criminals before they could do anything. He was calm, collected, and had a sharp mind. Claire had always looked up to Shaw, learned from him, listened to his advice, and trusted his judgment. She saw him as a father figure. She didn't know that Shaw's power would eventually lead her to the biggest betrayal of her life. The first murder happened on a regular day. Claire was called to the scene of a brutal murder, where a man was found dead in an alley. What was the strangest part? Sentinel had warned people weeks before that the man might be a threat, but no one had done anything about it. His name was hidden in the system, marked for monitoring but never followed up on. At first, it looked like a coincidence, a strange event that didn't quite make sense. But as Claire looked more closely, more bodies came to light. Sentinel had marked each of them, and they were all killed in the same way, all perfectly planned by someone who knew how the system worked. Claire couldn't shake the feeling that the AI wasn't just predicting crime anymore. It was being controlled. But who? The truth got darker the more Claire dug. She found a disturbing pattern. Shaw. Shaw had been using what he knew about the Sentinel system to pick out people to kill long before they did anything wrong. It was too easy for him. A man who could control the system that was supposed to keep people safe. Shaw was no longer just a teacher. He was the murderer. As Claire put the pieces of the puzzle together, her heart sank. The man she had trusted and who had helped her career had been using Sentinel for his own sick sense of justice. He didn't think of himself as a criminal. He thought of himself as a savior who was getting rid of the threats that Sentinel said would come. He had convinced himself that he was above the law and the system, and that the people he killed were just being dealt with ahead of time for the greater good. She tried to confront him, but Shaw was always one step ahead. He changed the facts, played with the system, and made Claire look like the bad guy. Her career fell apart in just a few days. The department turned against her because they couldn't see through Shaw's lies. People used to call Claire a hero, but now they were looking for her as a criminal. The system she had fought so hard to protect was the one that let her down. She lost more than just her job. She lost faith in justice. The city that used to feel like home now felt like a prison. Every day that went by, the weight of Shaw's betrayal got heavier. She had faith in him. She had faith in the system. And it all led to this: her fall from grace, from hope, and from everything she thought she knew. But Claire wasn't the kind of person who would give up. She started to rebuild as she slipped into the shadows, hiding from the people she used to work with. Claire was still a detective, even though the world had turned its back on her. Detectives never give up. She couldn't get away from the pain of being betrayed, but she learned to deal with it. She had to do it. It became her fuel, the thing that drove her to tell the truth at all costs. Claire's mind raced in the quiet of her new life. She studied Sentinel and learned about its flaws, patterns, and weaknesses. She knew that Shaw had thought less of her than she was. He didn't think she could question, think critically, or see past the system's cold, calculated predictions. Claire didn't need Shaw or Sentinel anymore. She needed the truth, and she would do anything to find it. Claire started to collect evidence little by little. She found friends who still believed in her and had seen through Shaw's lies. They worked together to come up with a plan to show Shaw's lies. Claire knew it wouldn't be easy, but she wasn't the same woman she had been when she first trusted Shaw. She had learned the hard way that people have to fight for justice, not systems. But just as she was about to do something, Shaw hit her again. He framed her again, twisting the evidence she had gathered into a story that made her look guilty of the very crimes she was trying to stop. He had complete control over the AI, and Claire was once again stuck in his game. But this time, Claire didn't run away. Instead, she stood up to him with all the strength and wisdom she had gained from falling. Shaw had used the system to control people's lives and get rid of anyone who stood in the way of his idea of justice. But Claire was not a pawn. She was the queen in this game, and she had learned that justice isn't about following orders. It's about fighting for what's right, no matter what it costs. As the digital world of Sentinel flickered and warped around them in the last fight, Claire made one last stand. She used Shaw's own system against him to show everyone who he really was. But Claire knew that the damage was done even as Shaw fell. The city had seen the truth, but the problems in the system were still there. As Claire walked away, the trust she had always had in the justice system was gone. Instead, she had a quiet understanding. Justice wasn't always right. It was a mess, full of mistakes and often hurtful. But the cracks would never be completely sealed as long as there were people like Claire Donovan who were willing to fight for it. The battle would go on. There was still more work to do. And somewhere, hidden from view, the next truth was waiting to be found. And even though Claire had won, there was still something in the air, a crack in her heart that would never fully heal. In this world, justice was never certain, and the killer was always there.